and you just take everything above it.
I've always loved cooking. It's something that I've always done. I've just grown up around food. For me, a lot of what cooking is actually what goes on in the fields, you know, what goes on in growing and understanding seasons and understanding how nature is. You know, nature knows what it's doing. Tomatoes and basil grow at the same time for a reason, and they're delicious. I'm Luke Piccolo. I'm the owner and chef of Limone Dining in Griffith. I grew up here at the Piccolo family farm. It's been in the family for 32 years. We pretty much built it from the ground up. It has a really deep place in my heart. There's nothing better than coming out early in the morning and watching the sunrise, than being able to go out and feel and pick the vegetables. And there's something really grounding about it.
My name's Peter Piccolo, born in Griffith, raised in Griffith, and this place is Piccolo family farm for a reason. It's family. I'm surrounded by my family continuously. My 3 children are around me all the time. I've been with Rosa for 45 years. I grew up as a farm labourer, always dreaming to have my own farm, somewhere to kick the dirt and raise our children. We came here, the kids were just born. And why we came here is because this is all we could afford, because this was out of town. This had no town water, no sewage, had a long drop toilet, and it was tough. We farmed by day, we worked by night, we learned to be sustainable. I had a family and I had a farm. The only 2 things I ever wanted. I reckon in a week we'll knock it over. We'll give it a couple of hours, let the ground dry out a bit, do a couple of hours of pruning.
I've got a really strong relationship with my Nonna. I would spend pretty much every afternoon with her. I was probably 6, 7 years old. She would always be picking stuff out of her garden and we'd pretty much cook. That's how we'd spend the afternoons. So I sort of credit her to my passion in cooking. The restaurant is quite a unique building because it was built entirely by my father. He used all recycled materials. We're pretty fortunate with our range of producers. Pretty much everything is grown here, from our nuts and grains to our legumes to flour, then to all of our vegetables and meat as well. So we're not just buying stuff out of a carton, opening it, cooking it and putting it on a plate. What we're trying to achieve is that when a customer dines with us, they are eating sort of a piece of our story. You know, they're tasting the tradition and the culture of what we do, and it's those methods that have passed down from generation to generation that really give our cooking a bit of texture, and they give our cooking that extra flavour. And a lot of our customers will be like, oh, I remember that flavour because my Nonna used to do that, or my grandmother, or my Nonna's apple pie. It's become a bit of a staple at the restaurant. So if you're in Italy, it'd be called a torta di mela. Every week she comes to the restaurant and makes this apple pie on a Thursday. You can count the ingredients on one hand, and she doesn't have a recipe. She gets the pastry, the filling, the whole lot right every time. When you eat it, it's phenomenal. The pigeon and polenta dish that I cook, it keeps to the traditions of how my Nonna would cook it. We call it a peasant dish. It was something that was accessible, it was cheap, it was a tradition that was carried on from when they lived in Italy. You know, it was such a normal thing to have birds and have game and have these smaller animals that were quite easy to keep. The polenta I cook really nice and slow, and I allow it to soften up and become nice and delicate. The pigeon itself, I actually cook it on the bones, which is how my Nonna would cook it, because that actually keeps it from going dry and overcooking, and keep all of the internals of the pigeon, so the hearts and the liver, all those little goody offals that get lost in the commercial process. A lot of people would probably squirm by that, but you know, it's respecting the animal and it's using the whole animal, and it's amazingly flavoursome as well. I find it really inspiring watching my Nonna cook. There's that inherent respect for the ingredients, and now it's, you know, it's sort of fashionable to do the whole no waste process, but for her it's just, there was no waste when she was a kid because they couldn't afford to waste anything. You know, and that's what I find so intriguing about peasant style of cooking and food, is that it was a way of life, it wasn't a choice. Salami is a really important thing to preserve the meat and the pig for the course of the year. From as long as I can remember in our extended family, it's always been done. It's a way of us bonding, but then it's also a way of us preserving these traditions. Our lives revolve around work, but fortunately we do what we love doing, so we don't sort of see it as work.
And he said, look, the vegetarian diet is amazing, you know, the greens, the vegetables, the freshness. And he said, yep, as long as it's served with the steak.
The vineyard was planted in 2018 and has a major focus on Italian varieties. It's nice to be able to see the vines grown, just like our food, you know, grown from the ground up, using very minimal intervention, and then make it into wine and put it in a bottle.
The vineyard was put in, so when you come to Limone, we can show you a wine list, and at the bottom it says Vino di Casa, the house wine, a true house wine.
What I really like about when we eat at the table as a family is that it's all things that just get pulled together from what we have. Zucchinis picked from the garden, fresh lettuce, vinegars that we've fermented and made ourselves. And it's always simple. There's never too much thought involved in it. A lot of people ask me why, you know, oh, you should move to Sydney and open a restaurant there, or you should come to this region. And my answer is that I couldn't do what I do here anywhere else, because it's this culmination of tradition, it's a culmination of culture, it's a culmination of the family values that we've grown up with. We've got the farm, it's just all of these things pieced together. That's why what we do is unique.